You're listening to the Rockstar VA podcast, the show all about virtual assistants and freelancing, with your host, Sheila Pialago.
Heyo, this is Sheila, and you are tuning into the Rockstar VA podcast. So, just a quick recap on the previous episode. I shared with you my idea on relevance, the value of being relevant to your clients, and how you can use it to transform your personal brand as a VA and freelancer. I also gave a mini workshop in that episode based on how I use relevance on my experiences and skills to effectively reach out and gain more clients and connections. So if you haven't checked it out, I'm talking about episode 2. Of course, let me know what you think of that by connecting with me on LinkedIn. You have to listen to that too. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for my name, Sheila Pialago. I'm very active in adding my co-VAs on LinkedIn. Or you can also email me at the rockstarvapodcast@gmail.com. No spaces, all small letters. Again, I would love to hear your comments. So, for this episode, this is going to be a meatier episode because there's going to be a lot of things that you can take away here as you move forward with your online career. This episode will be mainly about effective online communication and how you can gain more clients as well, again, attain longevity as a VA too. One of the biggest challenges in virtual assistants and freelancing is gaining more clients or even gaining one client's confidence to work with you. But one thing I realized over the years as well in my experience is that the ultimate challenge among all is not actually getting the client, but it's more on how to keep them for the long run. And highly experienced VAs would agree with me that half of the clients are fleeting or they just come and go, So I will share with you a strategy in this episode that is close to my heart, one that I've been applying this habit right before my first conversation with a potential client. And also, as promised, I have a special guest for this episode. She is a business owner in the VA industry and also a dear friend who will share with all of you her insights and practical tips on what it means to be efficient and effective to your client in terms of online communication, which will be our topic for today. And what's great about this is that this is going to be a client's perspective. So trust me, everything that she will share is downright realistic and golden too. And all based on real life scenarios that you can use in your day-to-day working life. Now, I think we could all agree that talking about online communication is kind of overrated. But I still believe this is worth a conversation, especially that in our case as VAs and freelancers, because this is the key not only to gaining clients, but also to your longevity in the online world. Again, and based on my experience, effective online communication means to use and maximize the online tools and apps so you can best relay your message virtually, be it to your client or to your colleagues, while overcoming its hurdles or obstacles, right? So we've got so many tools and softwares, that aim to make online communication more efficient, right? What tools do you know using? I can think of tools like Slack, Voxer, Zoom, Skype, all social media apps, and so on. You can find so many tutorials for these applications online. Now, the barriers, I think internet connectivity, for instance. As of 2020, there are still a lot of areas in my country that have internet connectivity issues, let alone power interruptions. So what do we do about it? It's something out of our control, but we can definitely work something out when it comes to communicating this one with our clients, because this is a real issue, all right? And internationally speaking, we have also those software outages, When Google like has a power outage, or Facebook, or you cannot log into Twitter for some reason because of software outage or a quarterly maintenance and upgrades of these platforms. Yes, all those things and more are what I call is like macro obstacles that continue to challenge virtual communication. And if we have macro obstacles, let us not take for granted the micro ones, such as, in our case as virtual assistants, since we're all over the world, we have those regional linguistic accents and fluency. I've heard so many clients who also have trouble with some of my colleagues because of their accent, and they will just tell me, hey, I really cannot understand him. And I thought that is quite a bit of an obstacle, because we want to get our message to our clients, as easy and as comfortable for them, And another thing is, I think time zone difference. I am a big victim of this. I always mess up time zones, especially with those, those PSD and those MDT and Australian Daylight Savings Time. Come on, we all got this. And these minute things, micro obstacles, really affect our communication. And trust me, a lot of clients will really dig into these, just to check on your efficiency as their VA. So these factors and more can affect your communication and overall rapport or professional relationship with your clients. So, but first, all right, here's my personal strategy. I'll just bring it down to you. Whenever I come across a job post or a client referral, meaning my client has referred me to another client, which is great, I always, introspect. I checked with myself, my thoughts, my feelings, my intuition, and as well my skills, my strengths, my weaknesses. And as I read through the job description and responsibilities, I ask myself, okay, Sheila, do you want to do this task? Can I successfully carry these out and deliver these correctly? Because most of the time we're so eager to get a job, we're so eager to earn money, we think we could just do it. Everything, we become superheroes, and then when we get to the job, we get frustrated with our clients, we get frustrated with the job, with the tasks. It's not for us. So that's where the disconnection happens, and I want you to avoid it as much as you can, because I went through that as well. And if yes, like, how can you think of at least like 3 strategies on how to deliver? What could be the difficulties that I would encounter when I get this job? Can I do this every day for the next 2 to 3 years at least? Right? These are just some of the many, many questions that I ask myself before going for a client. And you might ask, okay, why do you do that? Okay? Because technically, let me tell you, I know what I can do, right? You know what you can do for a business. I would assume that. But every client has a different niche, has a different business model, has a different business approach, and has a different target audience, let alone a different personality and a different working style. At least from your end, you get to prepare yourself and be prepared for the long haul instead of just plainly approaching the client like everyone else. Because so the introspection focuses on what you can do for this specific client, for this business. Again, the approach is primarily serving you because you solidify yourself first, that you are confident on the tasks mentioned in the job op, not just for the sake of application. And in this way as well, you prepare yourself even more before reaching out. I believe it's very client-centric as well, because it serves the client's specific needs. You become really, really prepared if you get to just think about it, think about the task. And honestly, this has been a really good strategy for me to really win a client, because I just don't approach them just like any other job up. I really take serious. Of course, I pick them out. I weed the ones that I think will be beneficial for me, that I would really like to work, like something that interests me. But most of the time I really ponder, I really introspect. If you see it my way, you are already targeting that potential client's business needs by predisposing your mind into the business. You are thinking already like a business partner. You're thinking like a Rockstar VA, right? And from a VA to another VA, this is a fundamental step that we cannot take for granted. And if you ask me why, because online communication can be mentally and emotionally draining. To tell you honestly, like how online communication removes major aspects of your, let's call it, likability factors. Your warm smile, your firm handshake, your new formal office attire, and typically your enthusiastic tone of voice, initially at least, because all of these and more are your likability factors to gain connections in the real world, right? But in the online world, it's gone, right? Because first conversations mostly, if not always, start by chat or email. And because of all these likability factors gone, everybody is in an equal approach of like being a stranger to that of a stranger. And oftentimes we do not want to talk to strangers. So how do you want to approach a client? I mean, just strategizing your first approach to your clients, to your potential clients, can be draining. If you just see it my way, it can be, but it can also not be. If just that, this is why you have to be mentally and emotionally prepared to do so. And I always tell my VA friends to introspect, like first, before you approach a client, you be like, okay, are you ready to take this particular position? What are the pros and cons of taking this particular job? Will you be comfortable working in this business industry or in this niche? Sometimes, again, we are so driven to really go for the money. And I really appreciate those people who, I don't judge people who also, because I also, of course, work for the money. But, try to carefully absorb them piece by piece, not all at once. It does not even have to be that complex. Just think of the first things that come into your mind whenever you see a job post, all right? So, because introspection has been insanely beneficial for me, because more recently, whenever I also get to introspect, like, okay, Sheila, are you ready for this? Do you want this job? I also get to personalize my communication to each client. I get to do that, what do you call that? Mind setting prep, before my first message, before my first email with them. All right. So I think I over elaborated on that personal tip for you. This is, right before I approach a client. Now, stay tuned. After this short break, I will be bringing someone in the show to speak more about effective online communication through an actual client's perspective.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking on the follow or subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Now, I promised you in my last episode that I will have someone in the show to help me promote the value of effective online communication when approaching a potential client. I'm also a VA and freelancer like you, so I thought the best way to approach a client is through the lens of the clients themselves. And about a month ago, I launched a webinar on how to get an online job. Because some of my friends have been asking me to do, Sheila, can you help me find an online job, as a VA? And I said, okay, let me gather up a PowerPoint presentation, and, I'll let me gather you all up in a group on Facebook. And I did a really small virtual conference and did a live demo in that as well. And the post sessions, I've had post sessions or post interviews connected to that main event, where I had a series of interviews of different professionals of different fields as requested by the people who joined that event. And these pros, I know and who the people in the group have requested, right? I could not forget this one section of the interview with one of my dearest employers / CEO who gave really, really practical and very relatable insights, for aspiring VAs and freelancers, and even those Rockstar VAs who are already part of the team. How can you, when approaching a client, or how she weeds out the Rockstar VAs for her business. It's really, really great. You have to stay tuned with this. All right, without further ado, here's Kimberly Brown, the CEO of Gr8CollaborationVA, talking about how to be more effective when communicating online with your clients or potential clients.
I am so glad to be here, and thank you for having me. So did you want me to introduce myself? So I'm Kimberly Brown. I live in the United States, Denver, Colorado, to be exact, where it's 90 degrees, and then tomorrow it could be snowing. That's how it's here. I'm the CEO of Gr8CollaborationVA. What that means is my business is I help online course creators create courses, membership sites, do anything technical inside a platform called Kajabi. So that's who I tend to work with. Been doing this since 2015. And last year, early this year, I realized that I needed to scale and grow my business and not do it just myself, and stop turning away people. And I ended up hiring an amazing team and two of my most favorite VA rock stars. And so that's a little bit about me. The first thing I'd say is especially when you're new, and whether you have tons of experience or not a lot of practical experience in the online world, how do you stand out when you respond to a job application? Because there are a lot of people that do what you do, but there's only one you. You are the special sauce, or the secret sauce is what I call it. So how do you stand out? And it doesn't matter which country you're applying for. And what you do is when you get something through whatever mechanism you get your job ops to, whether you are involved in Facebook groups where there are people posting job ops and you respond, whether you belong you can go online and to like an Upwork or the Philippines online jobs or anything like that, read very carefully really what the job op says. Because what I found, and this is what I did, is a lot of people will put in a specific way they want you to respond to the job op. So for example, for me, I put, please send me an email with this specific header, and then let me know a little bit about yourself, and go fill out this Google Doc form or application form. And what happened was I had a lot of people that just responded through either the Facebook group or through the employment company that they were going through. They were immediately weeded out, didn't even look at them. So those that did it, though, I didn't mind if they did that and did the email and the Google form, but I'm looking for those that did exactly what I asked them to do, because that shows a really, truly attention to detail. Because how many of us have put attention to detail and then we totally miss a detail? It's happened.
Right.
So that's one way to get you through an potential employer, the noise that they get with all the applications. Once it's the cover letter, though, that will get you in. So if you do the first two things that they want you to do, it's the cover letter. And how can you stand out? What makes you you? So there's a couple of things, if I could just say what helped me when I started out on my journey, is I brainstormed on a piece of paper all the things that make me me. I mean, everything from the fact that I love animals, my favorite color is purple. And I started really noticing that I could put things like, okay, I'm an over-deliverer. I really do like to collaborate more than be a task taker. And I just wrote all these things down, and then I stepped away for a day and came back, and I wrote down the top 10 things that really stood out. You will find out a lot about yourself and what makes you you. Like, I have a really wicked sense of humor. A lot of people like that. That helps me stand out. One of the things that really helps me stand out to my clients is I can think of their work. So I'm given a task, but I can really think about it from their end user. Like, what's their experience going to be? And I bring that to the table. So write your cover letter to those things. What helps you stand out? They can teach you how to do stuff. They can't teach you those things that make you you. Another thing, and I'll end up giving this to Sheila, is the 16 personalities. Especially if you don't really know a lot about yourself and how you operate, it's a great test for you to go, how do I operate? How do I communicate? And you can use that to write in your cover letter as well. Anything you can do to stand out. And then once you get past that point, if you can get into the face-to-face interview, you're pretty much golden. Just let yourself shine. And I will tell you, and I can only speak for me, even if the interview, like you're nervous and scared and you feel like you didn't do so great, people can look beyond that. Because I've had people that didn't interview well that are wonderful. And I've had people that have interviewed amazingly and just don't turn out. So don't worry about that part. A lot of times I have found that people feel if they ask questions that somehow that's not welcomed, that you don't want to seem, it just depends on what that means to you or what that did. Like if I ask a question, will they think, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing, or I'm weak, or I'm not smart. I can't speak for other countries, but Americans, we welcome questions. We welcome questions. In fact, sometimes when like it almost seems like you disappear for a bit, we almost get nervous. There's no question. Right. So it's okay to ask questions. We don't see that as a sign of weakness. We see that as clarification. So you can even couch your question, hey, I'm just wanting to clarify. Just want to make sure we're on the right or I'm on the right track, or I'm understanding you correctly. You know, if you need to couch it like that, we don't mind questions. In fact, one of the things that Sheila and my other Rockstar VA do very well is they'll like start it and then they'll check in with me. Is this what you had in mind before they do the whole thing? They'll like a couple pages in. Is this the direction that is this your vision? Is this what you're seeing? And I love that. No, I thought that's what I wanted. And no, I don't. Or I didn't explain it very well. The challenge is I speak also American English. We use a lot of slang that we don't realize we're using. And we tend to do what are called leaps of logic. Like somehow in our head, we thought we told you and that you should know. So it's totally okay to clarify. In fact, don't disappear. You know, definitely communicate. And that's the last piece, communication. It's so key. Whether it be someone gives you a task and they didn't say when it needs to be due. So I'm just wondering, what's your timeline on this? Or just acknowledging you received the task. That's huge. Whether it's like on our Trello board, just a thumbs up. Okay, I know they saw it. Great, I'm good. We're off and running. If there is a due date, if you're like, you know what, this is a little bit bigger than the person thought it might be. Because sometimes you're given a task because the person has no idea what it really entails. They're just giving it to you. It's okay to give feedback and go, I know you wanted this done in like 3 days, but here's why I think it might take longer. And they can extend the due date out. Or life happens. You get sick. Internet goes down. COVID happens. Different weird things. Just communicate that. Hey, I plan to work on XYZ today, but this is happening. Can I push it out? Or I plan to have this done by Friday. You know, is there any way? So again, communication instead of just disappearing, because then people start getting nervous. So that's really important. Really, it's about what makes you stand out. So what do I look for in someone? If I'm specifically hiring for someone who knows Kajabi, well, of course, I want people to respond that either know Kajabi or a platform like it. So let's say that someone's asking you about, let's say, Asana. Are you an Asana expert? And you're like, well, I'm not an Asana expert, but I do know project management software, and I'm really good at Dubsado or some other ones. You can write to that in your cover letter and say, I may not know that, but I know the principles behind it. I know that it needs this, this, and this, and I can implement that. So don't let that rule you out of something if they're looking for something specific. If they're hiring for more general, what I can teach anybody a task, but I can't, again, teach the things that make you you, whether it's, you know, that you, well, as in one person who is on this StreamYard over delivers and is very quick. So I had given some test tasks, and not only did she do what I asked her to do, so she was a task taker. Here's where she stood out, because ultimately I'm looking for a collaboration partner. I'm looking for someone who will not just be a task taker, but grow my business. she took it and she's like, well, here's the thing, but here's what I did to add to it because I realized it was a missing piece. And it was like, boom, hired. I mean, I had tears. Or I'll get it. She'll just see there's a missing piece, or hey, have you thought about using it this way? The other thing that I didn't do with Sheila that I should have done earlier is let's talk more about what all you can do. I had her like, okay, well, this is just what I need. So of course, this is all she can do. No, Kim, she can do all these other things. So that's where maybe having, whether it be a weekly team meeting, some people don't want that. You know, as an employer, maybe they don't want to do a lot of face-to-face, but saying, hey, by the way, I can help you with some copywriting, or I can do this as well. That really adds to your value. And if you find that right employer who really wants you as part of their business, they will have you grow with them. So you might maybe start out on the lower end, but as they grow, you will grow in income and knowledge as well. And that's like the ultimate employer that you want. Now, you can't ask that. So as you grow, will I grow? But you can kind of get that feeling through the interview process if you do get to a face-to-face. So there is a difference, I have found, working with a female and a male and their personalities. And so men tend to have more ego, not a bad thing at all. They know what they want, they know who they are, but they tend to be a little bit less coachable. Females tend to, not all of them, but so I'm just kind of letting you know my own experience, tend to be a little more coachable. But if it's the way that you approach it, you can have a lifelong relationship with this employer that can either make part of your income or eventually all of your income. And this is the key piece. Here's what I've seen that happens a lot in this industry. People will ask you to do a test task for free. Don't do it. Don't fall into that. Don't lower yourself to that. You're worth more, okay? Because let me tell you, those that are looking for something for free, either they're very brand new in this and someone gave them bad advice to ask for that, or you have people who just want you to do work for them. And that's how they get it done, is by asking lots of different people to do different tasks for them for free. So if someone asks to do that, don't fall into that trap. There's a different way that you could respond. And you could say that, normally I would charge X for that. And you can choose to charge half, but here's what we could do is so you could see my work, see if we're a good fit, see if it's what you're looking for. And if they're like, no, that's not somebody you want to work with. Because remember, it's your business. You are a business person and you have to take care of your business. Now, there's a difference between, listen, I've got to pay the light bill. I'll do whatever it takes. But for long term, you've got to find what brings you joy. So if someone wants you to do a paid test task, make sure there is a contract. And it doesn't have to be official. It could be something that's just in the email because that counts. Or if they say, yes, just get started, you can always write back and say, so just to clarify, you're asking me to do this for this amount in this time frame. So make sure you protect yourself.
I've actually told them, you have to, make it also safe for you. But at the same time, of course, you have to give quality to your clients. Well, I have one question though, Kim. What makes a bad VA? Is there such thing as a bad VA? Because naughty VAs.
Naughty
VAs. Let's put it that way.
So I've hired other VAs. So I have hired them and have had to let them go because they've just disappeared, or they've stopped communicating. Or so, for example, you give a test task and they're out all week long, and then on Saturday they're like, I just couldn't work on it last week because of XYZ. There are tons of ways to get a hold of me just to let me know. It could have been on their phone. It could have been, even if the internet was down, there's different ways. So, of course, you give people chances. Goodness gracious. I believe in grace and space. But after a certain amount of time, if it keeps happening, well, I have to do what's right for my clients and my business. And if eventually I want to, because I have a little bit of different model, is not only are Sheila and I'm just going to say her name, Jay, doing tasks that are for my business, I funnel tasks of my clients to them to do. And so if I can't count on that being done in a timely manner, or if they just disappear, that impacts. And so eventually that person has to be let go. There is no bad VA when it comes to doing the task. meaning they're trying their hardest, they're learning. It's a process. They'll get it eventually. It just may take a while. There's a learning curve. Some people have more patience for that than others. I have really good patience for that. I believe you can teach anybody anything, and that it takes time to learn something and to learn the person's style. Because again, you aren't mind readers, and sometimes I think you are. So I would say the only thing for me that's a huge red flag is more of the disappearing, just, not communicating. That's a big one for me.
Right. Because we live in a virtual world, communication is the key.
It really is. And there are so many ways to reach someone. So even if your internet is down, usually your phone is working or your cellular is working.
Right.
There's always carrier pigeon. No, we know that life happens. If there's something that's really bad, because again, also depending on the infrastructure of your country, even your cellular could be down. Who knows what could happen if there's civil unrest, if there's here, even in America, the world is changing around us with how things are happening that we've never experienced before. But try your best to communicate in any way possible to say, oh my gosh, and especially if you don't feel good, just shoot out a little note. Hey, listen, today is not a great day. Is there any way I can push this to tomorrow? Also, what helps is, and this is actually a great way to market yourself, is let's say you're not a person's first choice. So maybe you get the, thank you, but no thank you. You could respond saying, please keep me in mind as a backup. That way, if your person is ever ill on vacation and your clients still need their needs met, feel free to reach out to me. Boom.
Yes.
You could be somebody's backup.
And that is always a good thing if you have right now you have a lot of clients coming in because you're the backup.
Yes.
And you're the one available.
Right.
That is awesome.
Or eventually you may need to hire a VA to help you. And maybe that's the other thing I look for in someone that I didn't think about is eventually, because we don't all start out this way, think that, you really are a business owner. You're not an employee of the person. You're part of their business, but you yourself, you are a business owner. And eventually you may need to hire your own VA to help you scale your business and what you can take on. That way you can focus on the stuff you like to do and give the VA the things you don't like to do. I've never done that. That is exactly what I do.
Yeah. I'm hiring now my brother to do the dirty work for me.
Exactly. The hard thing with hiring family, though, it's hard to fire them. Yes. They live in your house. One, this is the perfect time to be jumping into the online world. This is horrible. But COVID has been amazing for my business and for the online business world because you have many people looking to put their specialties online or get help online. So you're at a great place at a great time. And this could really be good for you in the future as well, because I do think the world is going to go more virtual. I don't know if we're going to return to a lot of offices as work. And so a lot of regular B2B brick and mortar businesses are going to be doing some things online and looking to hire online. So you're at a great place. So don't let that part hold you back. That's actually amazing that this is happening in your life. It's the obstacles of how do you stand out when now also there are tons of people who are saying, well, gee, I could be a virtual assistant. So again, how are you going to stand out? Because yes, there may be 20 of you that do social media in this group, but each of you are unique beings. And you're going to find that person that goes, ooh, but I like that unique being. There's only one you. When it comes to technology, especially when you're starting out, it's not like we have millions of dollars to invest in tons of technology. So have a really good webcam. And because I find that not a lot of the computer webcams go good. And I don't know if you can access Amazon. I have no idea. But the Logitech version, they're really inexpensive. And it's a really good camera to have if you're doing anything face-to-face with your clients. But other than that, everything we do is in the cloud. So if you need to work off of a Chromebook, you can work off of a Chromebook. If you need to work off of an iPad or a tablet, you can work. I do a lot off my phone. So if you don't have like a huge computer, don't worry about it. There are ways you can still get this done. So don't let the fact that, and don't fall into the trap that, well, I need the newest tool. I need the newest that. you'll learn them. If it depends on what your client uses, and you can learn on the fly.
Thank you once again to Mrs. Kimberly Brown for allowing me to grab that excerpt of our interview. And I hope you guys have learned so much from all the things that she has shared, because those really made a big impact in my VA career as well. So, next up is our question of the day. Stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, 4. Question of the day. Question of the day. Question of the day.
So, for our question of the day, here it goes. What are your precautionary measures to avoid scam clients? I ask a lot of VAs in online forums and online groups to check on what they do to avoid scam clients, and they really gave a lot of tips and strategies to do this. And I don't think I'd have enough time to mention all of them here, but the most common answer I got is advanced payment, whether it be half or full payment. Initially, I was a bit of half-hearted about this answer because personally, if you ask me if I were in the shoes of the client, I would also think twice because it's a risk for them as well. And in my experience, I think I only had 1 or 2 clients who volunteered to pay upfront, because let me tell you, my main strategy that I've been doing ever since I started was to be paid weekly on the first month. Then after that, if I worked well with a client, then I can reconsider bi-weekly. And the next succeeding months would be full on monthly retainer. But again, this depends on your niche. This depends on your type of work. I'm just probably speaking for social media VAs. And I think this has been my strategy for a long time now. And I'm really comfortable with this. And I wanted to highlight this question because in relation to our topic for today, this would still depend on a lot of factors, especially on how you communicate your payment preference, to your client. I hope that makes sense, right? This weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly strategy has worked for me, but it may not work for your client because they might have a strict bi-weekly payroll. Or the client insists to pay you at the end of the month. All right, so what do? I have been very strict to really relay this to my client that during the first month, it is highly recommended to have a paid trial week, or at least 2 weeks, to check if you and your client work well together. And I say, hey, you know what, let's try this. I think it can really help you. I think this is what you need for the business. I've checked it out. And I think as far as we've talked in this interview, I think I understand your business model. And but let's give it a try for this week. Maybe I can work it out and we'll see how our communication goes, how our working style does our dynamic work together? Do we sync? Do we have that vibe together? Let's check it out. So I really ask that this paid trial week, because the concern is actually not on how you can do the task, all right? Because I'd assume you can do it, but just like new tools and softwares in the market right now, they'd always have like a 30-day trial or a 7-day trial, right? This can also be applied to us VAs and freelancers. And I think this is the most fair approach I can think of if you want a long-term relationship with your clients, because the risks on both sides as well are not too big and not too small. I hope that makes sense. Of course, you can always disagree with me, but this has worked for me for at least the 6 years and counting while working as a VA, whether it be with a US client, an Australian client, or a UK client, whichever. Also, I think another point is that what works is a really, really good contract. Honestly, I just built a contract for my clients recently when I have them all on monthly retainers. But yes, a contract would really add to your value and credibility as a VA. All right. And Another third point, in addition, I think one thing that I can highlight from what Kim has shared was that you have to take advantage of the job interview, or how business owners often prefer to call it as the discovery call. All right, hear me out. In a job interview, your potential client gets to do all the asking, right? But ever since I learned about the discovery call, my approach and language to my potential clients have changed, right? Because in the discovery call, I also get to ask the potential client in-depth questions, and I get to listen more about them beyond the job description itself. I don't mean the things that you can see on their website, because you have to have that information ahead of time. What I mean is that in this discovery call, I want to know better who the business owner is, and I also do get to check if they are legit business owners or not. Yeah, actually in this interview, you actually can get to analyze them if they really, if, in this discovery call, you can also know better who the business owner is, and also if they are legit business owners or not. And this is probably the best reason why, thankfully, I have never experienced scam clients so far, because of just having this first call with them. I really try to ask them, okay, what are your business goals? How do you think, where do you see yourself, your business in the next 2 years? What do you want your target audience to have? And I have this target audience meeting with them, marketing meetings. I think I'm having every 2 weeks. I schedule a marketing meeting with my clients every 2 weeks. It depends on their availability, of course. But I always tell them, hey, let's meet like every week, or whenever you're free, at least every 2 weeks, so that we can like huddle and like think and brainstorm together. Because honestly, in a marketing approach, it's a really big help if I can get insights from the business owner himself or herself. And at the same time, I can also get some inputs from my colleagues if it's a larger team. So you see, it all boils down to communication. Your conversations with your client, with your colleagues, will define and shape your relationship with the overall business. All right. So I really advise that you, instead of fearing the job interview, think of it as your opportunity to get to know that client better, if he or she is also legit or not. All right. And to know if you are also a good fit with his or her personality as well. These little things really affect your work ethics, like how punctual you are at work, how motivated you are at work, because you get to know your clients better. And if you have this deep professional relationship with them, longevity, it's a surefire recipe for longevity. Trust me on that. So overall, you just gotta listen to what your client wants and needs, what your client wants from you and for their business, and then assess yourself from time to time, learn new skills, and of course, professionally communicate your comfort zones and preferences so you can meet halfway and again attain longevity as their Rockstar VA.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Rockstar VA podcast. Make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value to this show, we'd appreciate a 5-star rating, or if you simply tell a friend about the podcast. That would help us too.
The Rockstar VA podcast.